Welcome to Self-Publishing Authors, home for candid talks and honest recommendations. From book editing to book marketing, from author journeys to inspirations. Hosted by Gurhan Demirkan.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Gurhan with Book Selfie, and I have Kris Kile. Kris Kile is an author, of course, with many books, yet he only published three of them in one series, and I believe how many more coming up? Like 13 more?
12, total of 15.
Total of 15 just for this series, and we're going to talk about upcoming books also beyond these books. And we are both actually coming from Austin, Texas. What I am going to do is I am going to put this QR code on the screen. So if you're watching, and what you can do is you can just scan this QR code and go and purchase his books. Of course, that QR code is going to go on and off as we speak. I first wanted to show the books. Let me see. Oh, yep, right here by Kris. This is Committing to Transformation. That is the first book that you should actually read. And this is Taming the Brain. And this is The Unhurried Life. So we're going to go in sequence. But for now, I'm just going to keep quiet and ask Kris to introduce himself. Go ahead, Kris.
Thank you. Well, it's great to be with you and great to be with everyone who will be watching this video. You want me to talk a little bit about some background?
Background about yourself and beautiful pool right behind you,
Okay. I wonder whose pool that is. But anyway, I am 67 years old. I have spent the majority of my adult life doing two things. I've had a series of businesses, but also I've been fascinated from a young age at what does it take to live life well, to do what you set out to do, to learn, to grow, to shift things in your life that are holding you back. Just the whole art and science of what I now call living transformationally. And when I use the word transformation, that really means essentially just radical growth, significant, dramatic growth. And so everything that I do at this stage and have been doing for 25 years is trying to learn and apply everything I can find that creates sustainable transformational growth. A lot of people can grow in spurts and then, things are going great and then it reverts back to old habits. It dissipates, it kind of wears off, and then you try again, which is really tedious and hard work. So sustainable growth is growth that sticks much better. And so I've been on a lifelong search at what does it take to create sustainable growth. So I have a degree in biblical studies. I was involved when I was young in ministry some, but then about 25 years ago, I got involved in some training, some highly interactive experiential trainings. I started developing in that area, and that and coaching is what I've been doing over the last 25 years. So along the way, I've learned a lot, and my goal is to apply what I'm learning and see how it works for me. And if it works at a level that I think is worth the effort, then it gets into the package, the toolbox that I use and endeavor to share with others. So I'm not a big fan of theory. I'm a big fan of practice that works. Now there's theory in it also, but at the end of the day, what works? And
Okay.
if it worked for me, then I in trainings that I do and coaching, I share it with others and coach them in it. And then if it works for a significant percentage of people who start applying it, then I know that it's worth keeping. And so that's what I do.
Okay, so all these books,
yeah,
and the upcoming books, these are all results of your experiences, right?
Yes. So these are very small books, and that's by design. And I did some work several years ago, just endeavoring to identify what are the key elements, the key practices, disciplines, distinctions, and orientations one needs in order to live transformationally. And what I mean by transformation is just significant growth, producing results that align with what you aspire to far more than the norm. Now, nobody does everything they want to do all the time. Life is an ebb and flow. So that's just part of the package, and not a problem, by the way. But so what I'm not talking about here is perfection. And I'm not talking about never having challenges. And I'm not talking about everything becoming easy, because that's just not life. But what I am talking about is not wasting your time on things that aren't going to produce what you want them to produce. So for people who are willing to roll up their sleeves and do some work, it's like the things that I get into, it's like going to the gym in terms of physical working out.
Uh-huh.
Someone wants to get better in terms of physical shape, they go to the gym. They work with people that are experts in it. At least most people do. And they study, they go on YouTube, they do whatever they can. They try to learn how to do that well. And then if they practice it, they'll have some setbacks along the way. But if they keep at it, it can produce great results if they have people who know what they're talking about guiding them. And or you can get results on your own. It's just more hit and miss. Mm-hmm. So in living life and developing relationships and learning how to be your best version of yourself in relationships and in life, at work, family, those are the areas that I focus on. So there, several years ago, sat down with a friend who was a business consultant, and she was a very successful business consultant. And we wanted to codify a package of what are the most important distinctions and practices one can develop and practice, and then endeavor to create a way to communicate that to where they're simple to apply, not confusing, not highly technical, yet full of a lot of powerful insights that can really help you cut to the chase and get things done far more quickly in this area in your life. So I came up with 15 key disciplines that I felt were the key ones. And so I'm in the process of, I decided to release these one at a time in small books. So each of these books are, let me see.
About 60 pages, 80 pages?
Yeah,
like that.
Anywhere from 50 to 80 pages.
Yep.
But they're they cut to the chase and get right to the insights you need and practices you need in order to start producing results in that area. So the first one in the series is committing to transformation. And that's number one, because if you don't make a commitment to dramatic growth in your life, it's not going to happen. It's just a pipe dream. But if you commit to it, then you have a shot. It'll put you in the game of endeavoring to learn and grow like this. But what is transformation? That word, when I first started teaching this, that word was hardly used at all back in the 90s, early 90s. And a lot of people thought it was almost like voodoo. What's transformation? That's a stupid. Now everything, you can transform your hamburger. You can do this. You can do that. It's overused. It's overused now. But when I say transformation, I'm talking about dramatic, sustainable growth, personally, in relationships, in life, in your well-being, in accomplishing what you want to accomplish, and being able to really make progress towards what you aspire to do in your life. And so it's like seeing that happen in an unprecedented way. That's what I mean by transformation. So the first step to that in the first book is committing to it. But what is it that you're committing to? It's such, a big term. So we break it down in this book to the disciplines, the areas of life that we're talking about when we're talking about transformation. So it's about understanding the essential elements of what transformational living is, and learning how to create change that lasts and results that matter, and making your mark in the world. So how do you get into the game and stay in the game of living transformationally? And I said before, it's an ebb and a flow. It's not like it's just you go in a rocket ship to the moon and you stay on the moon. You know, it's work, but it's work that produces, if you know the details about how to have it happen in your life. So we really lay the foundation for that in this first book. And
that is the first book.
Yeah, and these are sort of little, you know, we have practice little exercises in here where you can do things to kind of take the concepts in there and start personalizing them with areas that you really want to tackle in your own life. So all of these books have that element to them. They're not a workbook, but they have little work sections in them for people who want to start really personalizing what they're learning in the moment as they develop it. So that's the first one. Then the second one is Taming the Brain. This is one of my favorite topics. So most people have recognized in their life that sometimes the brain is hard to tame. It doesn't do what we want it to do, and all sorts of things. And a lot of people think if they get their thought life lined out that that'll be fine, but then, you know, they have an issue with stress or anger or frustration, all of which are emotional dynamics, but fed by the mind. So the mind, in many ways, there's an emotional brain and a mental brain. And what happens a lot of times in life is when we get upset or uptight, the emotional brain takes over and dominates our capacity to think rationally to where we can't think rationally. And then we say and do stupid things. If you've ever been in an argument with someone where the argument just starts escalating and you start saying things that you would never say in your, quote, right mind, end quote, what happened is your emotional brain took over, became reactive and defensive. And that's when we start snapping and saying silly things. And it's really easy for the emotional brain to take over our thinking, rational brain, but they're designed to work together in harmony. You know, some people think it's just all about rational thought. That's absolutely not true, because the emotions are a huge part of life, and understanding them and integrating and harmonizing that with the whole rational side of our brain is the key to full living. But it requires some taming of the brain so it'll behave. And so this is a whole book that really lays out the foundations. This is a big area that I do a lot of things in. And we get into foundational things around breath work that are fundamental to any kind of thing that's going to help you harness your brain. My belief is that it always is built on a foundation of understanding some basics of meditative mindfulness, breath work, how to calm yourself, how to, when you're worked up and the emotional brain just trying to take control, how to tame it, how to calm yourself, how to work into this to overcome stress, anxiety, defensiveness, reactivity. So you learn a lot of powerful, simple practices. Short book. I'm going to be releasing next year a 4-part series of books just on breath work, right? So there's a ton that, 4 books. There's a ton you can do, but for most people, they're like, just tell me enough to get me started on this. I don't need to know everything about everything. And this book is designed for that. And it really does. You could be off to the races and running and building this in your life on how to create a more harmonized brain and life experience very quickly with this, because I only get into in these books the bottom line on what it takes to get in the game on each of these topics. We don't go and talk about all the 1,000 things around it. We talk about what you need to know to get in the game and to start really seeing it happen.
So you're going to be talking about those 1,000 things next year in your 4-book series.
On the breathwork side, it's more detail. It's a tremendous amount of detail, but that's not what these are designed. They teach essentials, basic essentials that will get you going. So you don't get stuck just trying to figure everything out. It gets you into action that will start producing results. And the
Okay.
third book is called The Unhurried Life. It's about really managing personal energy, how to work your life to where you take time for yourself so you don't get caught up in things that are not that productive, but how to use time effectively, how to leave the rat race around behind. And, now we're in a time where we had the whole lockdowns, COVID, et cetera, and we're kind of in the post that. But before lockdowns, one of the greatest problems people had is they just felt so busy, they didn't have time to think. And then COVID happened, and then they had all this time on their hands, but a lot of anxiety. It was very anxiety building times, right? A lot of things going on that were creating stress and anxiety and fear and frustration in a million different areas. And so we're just really coming out of that, and the results of that are still there. So you may not feel specifically hurried because you've been, remote working or whatever, but actually the dynamics that we address in the Unhurried Life are far more dominant in our culture today than they were before lockdowns and all that, because the isolation of it, the fear, the conflict, the chaos, all these things that are still with us that produced creates a lot of mental activity and stress. So if you'd like to be able to radically increase your ability to be at peace and rest, regardless of your circumstances that are around you, this book gives you, again, just the basics, just the facts, just the disciplines needed to get in the game of seeing results there in that area.
So, yeah, it's about 47 pages. I just looked.
Yeah.
You can't beat it. 47. How long would it take? Maybe 2 hours, maybe 3 hours.
Yeah, to read it, and then we're
But then you have to practice it, of course.
Audio, and it's like an hour and a half audio.
Yeah, that is cool. So we have all these books. Let me just put this up, and people may just scan and go to purchase these books, and of course, all total of 15. But this is the beginning. It is the three of them, and I believe I have to add, Book Selfie is the one who's publishing these, preparing the books, by the way. And I believe next week we are putting out the audiobooks of these. We have done 2 of them, and we're down to the next one. I mean, the last one. It will be out, and by like end of next week, everything should be edited and out.
Yeah,
so,
I'm excited about that because I'm a big audiobook fan myself. So really useful. So look, what I endeavor to do in these is on each topic, take 25 years of sort of full immersion, not just learning everything I can in these fields, but teaching it, training it, coaching it, applying it, and then just keeping the gold nuggets that produce the greatest value for the greatest number of people, honing it down to where it can produce a lot of forward momentum and action in a very quick amount of time, and put it in these books. And that's what these books are about.
We have to reiterate, of course, what this is like 25 years of experience, you said?
Yeah. I've been completely, I was going to use the word obsessed. I don't think that's accurate, but immersed and fascinated with this whole realm. And it's really been the thing that, trips my trigger.
Okay. So, I mean, it would be, I'm not going to use the word stupid, but it would be quite smart just to read these. These are the results of 25 years of experience, only the 3 books that Kris is starting.
Yeah, and working with thousands of people. I mean,
yes.
If it didn't produce results with people who were applying it from all different backgrounds, it doesn't make the cut into the book.
Yes, that's it. So writing these books, yes, we also have, you talked about your experience with, these are the results of real life. Your credentials, Can you tell us what your credentials are?
Yeah, I'm a master trainer, certified in multiple different disciplines in that area. I mentioned a degree in biblical studies. These are secular, though, just to be clear. You know, and been a professional coach for 20 years, professional trainer with larger groups, worked with that field for 25 years. I develop workshops, trainings all the time, still do them.
Mm-hmm.
And working with people in real time. And that's it. That's my background.
So, one more question. I'm full of questions.
Okay.
You did mention a few words. My question is, who should read this book? You know,
Anybody who's interested in being efficient and producing what they say they want in life.
okay.
This is really, if I could describe these books in each of these categories, it's real results in real time as efficiently as it can be done. Now, if you want to hem and haw and try and it not work and try something else and that not work and, et cetera, then have at it. But this is really designed to get it done where you start seeing results that create some momentum in these areas. So this is fabulous for improving relationships, helping you break out of areas where you're stuck, help you recognize what you don't know that gums up the works. The real knowledge, there's things we know that we know, there's things we know that we don't know, but the things that really get us stuck are things we don't know that we don't know. These ingrained subconscious habits of the mind that we've been developing since we were young and just run subconsciously. We don't even think about it. It's just part of what I call autopilot living, as we're just kind of zooming through life. And so the challenge is, how do you figure out and become aware of what's gumming up the works in any area where it's not happening the way that you want? And there are disciplines to get to that. So all of these are designed to help you discover what you need to, so that you can, when you're doing something, you start seeing results. And if you get off your game, you know how to get back on your game without it taking 2 years of being sidelined with some circumstance or challenge in life. So those things happen and they can get us off track, but how do you get back on track quickly? So that's really the game.
Okay. So if anybody wants to contact you, of course, KrisKile.com, right?
Yep.
And I am sure they are seeing your name. Let me just put this QR code again. A little bit smaller here. It says Kris Kile. Of course, you're the author. And KrisKile.com. They can also contact you. So this is the 3 books, upcoming 13, completing 15. How long do you think it's going to take?
I think we'll do probably 3 or 4 of these a year.
A year? Okay.
Yeah. I have other books coming out and I have books I've already done.
Yes. Okay. This is the book side. Let's talk about your business side. And the other day we had a lunch meeting, and we were talking about your business, and we divided your business into 4 services. Can you tell me about those? I mean, this is not just business talk. Kris, of course, as he said, he immersed himself into his business, and these are just the 3 results of that immersion. So I wanted to talk to him about the business so that everybody will get a clear idea why he's writing these, and he's helping out individuals and, of course, companies. Go ahead, Kris. 4 services.
Okay, so I have a company called Engagement Mastery that really is designed to, it's leadership training and team development in companies, organizations, applying all these things we're talking about, but within the context of the corporate arena or the organizational arena, on how to create peak efficiency and synergy and build trust that'll really create synergy and results in a company. So it's interesting if you go on Amazon and look at books on trust. Last time I checked, there were 70,000 books on trust. And any organization and culture that is really not expert in developing trust and connection around that will leave a lot of value on the table. So engagement mastery is designed in those things. I also do a lot of work in the Enneagram, which I use in
So the engagement mastery is for corporations,
businesses.
Okay, and small
And a
or
lot of
large?
the technology for that I use is evolved around the Enneagram. Pretty uniquely used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
go
then,
ahead. Enneagram.
Yeah. Then, so I've spent an enormous amount of time learning and developing practical, pragmatic uses for the Enneagram, which, if you're not familiar with that, it's a personality typology.
Mm-hmm.
And I've developed what I call the essential Enneagram growth system, which is how to use some of the material to accelerate growth, how to discover the habits that you have, the strengths of the habits that you have, some of which run consciously, some subconsciously, and then the blind spots that are inherent. Everybody has strengths, everybody has weaknesses, everybody has things that they're hyper aware of, and they have blind spots. So it's usually the blind spots that lead to us getting blindsided. So how do I effectively work in the corporate arena? I get into that there in that, and then also I teach the Enneagram for just the public at large, and I have a mastermind that I do with that. I have a coaching development for people who want to use that in a coaching practice, and then for people who simply just want to learn this for personal application and family dynamics or relationship dynamics. So I have that, and then I've been doing transformational trainings for 25 years, and that's contained in the organization we call the Flourishing Life. So it has a lot of these distinctions that we have in the books, plus a whole lot more. Highly interactive, highly experiential trainings. It's not like you're sitting there and listening to teaching. Very interactive and intense. It's an intense learning environment. Been doing those for a long time. The reason I'm still doing them is because they work. They work really well, and big breakthroughs in these areas that we focus on. And then what am I missing?
Okay, that is the Transform University, right?
No, that is the whole focus of that whole thing is how do you get to flourishing in your life? So it's the Flourishing Life. Now, Transform University is really what these 3 books, which are the first of 15, that whole body of knowledge is Transform University.
Okay.
And I also have taught that in companies, key elements of it. So the Transform University is great also in an organizational dynamic, whether it's a nonprofit or for-profit, in terms of applying these relational dynamics around these 15 key transformational distinctions in a corporate environment.
Okay. Yeah. So this 3 books and upcoming 13, corporation and individual.
Yeah. There'll be 12 more.
Yes. Oh, 12 more. Sorry. Yes. 15 total. Okay. So you got
all that material I have. And so I have people, from time to time, you say, will you come in and train our staff or our leadership on XYZ? And they'll actually pick 3 or 4 of these topics out of the 15, and we dive into those.
Okay. Okay. So you got engagement mastery, right?
Yeah.
You got the Enneagram.
Yeah.
And You got Transform University, which we talked about the first three books about that. And the other one was Apprenticing Jesus.
Well, it's the Flourishing Life is the
Flourishing Life is, yes.
Yeah. And so coming out of that work, I've developed the beginning of a series of small group studies, which are really the path to flourishing from a more of a scriptural point of view, or it's really not Bible teaching, but it's Christian context. So it's transformational distinctions within a Christian context. And so the first one of those books is, and that's called the Path to Flourishing series. It's scriptural. And the first book is called Follow Me. And then the second book is Open the Door. And there'll be a couple more in that series, but I'm focused, that'll be down the road.
Okay, awesome. All right, we covered a lot of things. Your services, your books. So, of course, this session, right now it's alive, but what we do is we also put this into YouTube and everything else as a recorded session. And we also extract the audio and we disperse it all throughout like iHeart, Amazon, Spotify as a podcast so that everybody and anybody can actually listen. So the bottom line, these are the books. Kris Kile is the author. And if they want, when they want more information, they can go to kriskile.com and contact you, either personally or business. Businesses also can contact you. And anything else that you'd like to add?
No, that's it. That's about it. Really, the only thing I would say is if any of this is of interest to you, my encouragement is just take the first step. Just take one step, get one of these books that you're interested in and just start checking it out. And you can contact me. I'm always excited to hear from people.
Okay.
And I will respond. If I get
you will respond quickly. Let's say you will respond quickly.
Sure.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you very much, Kris. And this will actually be the end of our session. And I will see you next time. And we're going to talk about more books, right?
Yes, sir.
Welcome to Self-Publishing Authors, home for candid talks and honest recommendations. From book editing to book marketing, from author journeys to inspirations. Hosted by Gurhan Demirkan.